Chapter 11. The team is formed, the goal is the 7 Warlords of the Sea. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Alright, just chill for a couple days and you'll be back to normal. Back home, Luo patched up Gray, tucked him into bed, and then turned to Rhodes, shaking his head. Color me surprised you didn't end up completely trashed this time. Ever since Luo started getting the hang of his surgery fruit powers, Rhodes would periodically show up on his doorstep half dead, courtesy of Nai Lu. He'd just push his body to the absolute limit, knowing Luo was there to fix him up. It honestly pissed him off, though, he had to admit, thanks to Rhodes, his surgery fruit abilities leveled up pretty quick. Hahaha, you gotta understand, Luo. Rhodes chuckled, thumping his chest. I'm way tougher now. It's gonna take a lot to knock me down like that again. Back in the day, even with his sit-up cheat, Rhodes only did moderate exercise. He loosely followed the Kamizenryu method from his memories, doing stuff like farming, hauling goods, mountain climbing, and swimming, basically, working out while working. He also stuck to the Kamizenryu philosophy, work hard, play hard, eat well, and rest up. He even made sure to take at least a half-hour lunch break every day. But as he kept training, thanks to the sit-ups, his physical fitness shot up so fast he hit a wall. Regular workouts just weren't cutting it anymore. Even maxing out the weight machines barely made a dent. That's when Luo's fruit abilities started to come into their own, so, Rhodes started experimenting with some pretty self-destructive stuff, pushing his body to its absolute breaking point, knowing Luo would step in and save him just before he kicked the bucket. Between Luo's medical skills and the sit-ups safety net, his physique improved at warp speed, and now. At least, I can't find a way to push myself to the limit. Unless. Rhodes clapped Luo on the shoulder, a hopeful glint in his eye. You used. Absolutely not. Luo yanked himself out of Rhodes's grasp, dead serious. I'm never laying a hand on you like that, no matter what. You're such a drag, Luo. Rhodes burst out laughing. But seeing Luo's serious expression, his smile faded, and he straightened up. We've all been training hard. Even Pekan and Xia Qi are looking pretty sharp. It's time we set sail. Just pretty good, Boss Rhodes. Pei Jin and Xia Qi, standing off to the side, were practically tearing up. I've been waiting for this day forever. Luo's face turned serious too, a cold light flashing in his eyes. Before we do that, there's something you need to know. You should think it over carefully before you decide. Luo lowered his head, his eyes hidden by the shadow of his hat, making him look almost sinister. I have a score to settle. Once we're out on the sea, I'm going to settle it, and he's definitely going to come after me. Scenes from his past flashed through Luo's mind, memories of his childhood, the platinum disease outbreak in White Town, watching his friends and family die one by one, his lucky escape, joining the Don Quixote family, wanting to destroy the world, being repeatedly thrown out by Mr. Corazon, Mr. Corazon dragging him all over the place, desperately seeking a cure, and flying off the handle at the attitude of the doctors and nurses, Mr. Corazon forcing the surgery fruit he'd risked everything to get into his mouth, while he himself collapsed in a pool of blood. Mr. Corazon's last smile and the love he told him, and Mr. Corazon being shot and killed by Doflamingo. That man is one of the 7 Warlords of the Sea, Don Quixote Doflamingo. Luo kept his head down, avoiding eye contact. His hands clenched into fists. If you sail with me, you're signing up to face one of the monsters who rule the sea. Luo pursed his lips, more words stuck in his throat, but he couldn't bring himself to say them. His Majesty the 7 Warlords of the Sea, Don Quixote Doflamingo. Nia's eyes widened at the name. She'd been sailing the seas for years, she'd definitely heard of the 7 Warlords, especially this guy, the notorious pirate from the North Blue. She glanced over at Bellamy, who she'd tossed aside earlier. The blonde kid had woken up for a minute, only to get knocked out again by Rhodes. What a dork, Rhodes snickered, nudging Nelu. You're the bookworm. Is this guy's personality called a tsundere? Yeah, but usually that's more of a girly trope. Nehru said, barely suppressing a laugh. I'm gonna kill you too. Luo's composure crumbled, and he flushed red. Definitely. X2. After a quick scuffle, Rhodes gripped Luo's shoulder, his eyes serious. You think Neru and I are clueless? Don't underestimate us. There were rumors all over the underworld about the insane price on the surgery fruit, and the Don Quixote family, who used to rule the North Sea and still have serious pull. We were just waiting for you to tell us yourself. And we already decided, if you tried to bail without explaining, we were gonna kick your butt. As your captain, I'm here to carry your dreams and your burdens. And in return, you're gonna help me conquer this ocean. You really know how to turn a phrase, Rode. Luo finally smiled, a weight lifting off his shoulders. Since you're already committed to sailing, there's no point chickening out now. They're just the 7 warlords. They're our target. Then, you're gonna get all kinds of advice next time, Captain Rhodes. Captain Rhodes. X4. Rhodes turned to Nia, extending another invitation. So, you still game to board my ship after hearing about the 7 warlords? What a lame attempt at reverse psychology. Nia rolled her eyes, flipped her hair, and took his hand. Fine, I'm putting my life and fortune in your hands, Captain Rhodes. Chapter 12, Experiments with Devil Fruits. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Okay, before we shove off, we need a plan and to see what we've got. Once that was decided, everyone gathered again. So, Rod, Nia started, gesturing towards Bellamy, still out cold in the corner. What's the deal with bringing him along? They were spouting nonsense about working for Doflamingo, but that's probably just a pipe dream. The Shichibukai wouldn't give a 2-cent damn about a small-time thug like him. Doflamingo. Law's eyes landed on Bellamy. It was strange how they had just learned about his history and grudges with Doflamingo, and now Doflamingo's name was popping up again. Speaking of which, what exactly is this, King's Shichibukai, you keep mentioning? Pekin piped up, and Xia Qi nodded in agreement. Ever since Law had brought it up, they'd been scratching their heads about what the heck the King's Shichibukai were. They were too excited about setting sail with everyone to ask before, but now they finally had a chance. Seriously? Don't you guys ever read the newspaper? You decided to go to sea without even knowing the score. Sorry, we've been spending all our time training. Otherwise, we wouldn't have met your standards, Boss Rhodes. Besides, as long as we're with you guys, we're not worried about anything. Whatever. Nia sighed, glancing at the two of them, then launched into an explanation. The Shichibukai under the king are a group of powerful pirates granted permission by the world government to plunder. They're basically the top dogs of the sea, each with terrifying strength and influence. So, our goal is to off one of them and take their place. Sounds like fun to me. Nia sighed again, watching the two of them seriously discuss the idea. Anyway, let's get back to this guy. Rhodes suddenly changed the subject. You all know about devil fruits, right? That he didn't directly answer Nia's question. Rumor has it that when a devil fruit user dies, the devil inside them is reborn in the sea, and a new version of that fruit appears. That's why there are devil fruit encyclopedias, because most of the fruits have shown up before. Nia looked at Rhodes, puzzled. What was he getting at? But the world's a huge place. Trying to find the exact devil fruit after the user kicks the bucket is like looking for a needle in a haystack. Rhodes continued, ignoring Nia's look. So, what if we shrink the world? If it wasn't so vast, wouldn't it be easier to find the devil fruit? Yeah, a smaller area would definitely make things easier to find. But how do you shrink the world? We can't shrink the real world, of course, but we can try shrinking the world where the ability users live, maybe even down to the size of a room. Rhodes stared intently at Law. I get it. Law exclaimed, understanding dawning on his face. You already had this idea, and that's why you wanted me to develop this ability. Exactly. Let's give it a shot. Pekan, go grab all the fruit we have. We should have a good stash. On it. Soon, everyone formed a circle, with Bellamy still unconscious in the middle. All around him were various kinds of fruit. Room, isolation chamber. A flash of blue light emanated from Law's palm, and a hemispherical blue space enveloped the area, trapping Bellamy and the surrounding fruit inside. This feels different from a regular room. This is a technique based on my ability, the isolation chamber. It completely isolates the space inside the room from the outside world. Even air can't get in or out. If you stay in this space too long, you could even suffocate. Room, scalpel. Law slightly bent his fingers, and a knife flew up and plunged into Bellamy's heart. As Bellamy died, everyone watched the pile of fruit intently. If everything went according to plan, the devil from Bellamy's spring fruit would be reborn in one of them. Minutes ticked by. Looks like it didn't work. Rhodes exhaled after a while, not too disappointed. While he thought the idea was sound, he wasn't expecting to instantly figure out how to get devil fruits. After all, even in the original story, only Blackbeard seemed to know how to steal devil fruit powers after eating the dark fruit. I think I felt something. Law deactivated his ability and took a breath. Using his op fruit took a lot of energy, and usually he conserved it by constantly opening and closing the space. Maintaining a space like this for a long time, especially the newly developed isolation chamber, which was more physically demanding, was a big challenge. I think I felt something passing through the isolation chamber just now. It seems like the idea is good, but the ability needs more development. Good that the idea is right, but you need to work on your stamina, Law. You're already wiped after holding the ability for barely 10 minutes. I told you, using my ability takes a lot out of me. Yeah, well, using fruit abilities takes stamina, so you need to toughen up. Jerk. Devil fruits go for at least 100 million berries on the black market. We've stumbled on a way to make a fortune. Nia looked at Law like he was a walking gold mine. Even though this first attempt failed, as long as Law improved his ability, they could get their hands on devil fruits on a regular basis. 100 million berries. I can trade it for a lot of dried fish. Speaking of which, I haven't seen how much cash Jason gave you. We need to buy a lot of stuff if we're going to see. Nia grabbed the cash box from Rhodes, holding her breath with excitement as she opened it. 50 million berries. After counting, Nia cheered. With that as a starting fund, she could get a lot of supplies. You're not planning on using my boat, are you? Nia suddenly asked, turning to Rhodes. I'm warning you, that was a second-hand boat that I bought. It can't withstand the wind and waves at all. Let's relax and take it easy first, and we'll talk about the boat tomorrow. If nothing unexpected happens, we should have a great boat. Chapter 13 Wolfe's Secret Base. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Early the next morning, an old man showed up at their place while they were still asleep. After a bit of a ruckus, everyone got dressed and gathered in the living room. Heard some noise last night, figured you were back. The old man, Dr. Wolfe, looked at Rhodes and Nelu, relief in his eyes, then glanced at Nia and Gray still in bed. So, you found your crew? Looks like you're finally heading out to sea. Long time no see, Dr. Wolfe, Rhodes said with a smile. He and Nelu had been under Wolfe's care as kids. When they first arrived, Rhodes was just a little boy, and Nelu even younger. If Dr. Wolfe hadn't taken them in, the two kids would have been in real trouble. Even with Rhodes' abilities, they might not have survived long enough to use them. Dr. Wolfe looked at them, his eyes full of emotion. He'd watched them grow up, Rhodes, Nelu, later Luo, and even Pekin and Shachi. He thought of them as his own kids, and he always knew they weren't the type to settle for ordinary lives. He'd seen them preparing to set sail since they were young. Consider this my way of helping out, as a friend. Come with me. With a knowing smile, Wolfe led them toward the woods behind the mountain. Rhodes' eyes lit up, and he was the first to follow. Nero, ignoring Gray's protests, hoisted him out of bed, dumped him on Beepo, and joined them headed for the woods. Here it is, my lab. After walking about 2.5 miles into the woods, Dr. Wolfe stopped at a stone wall. He tapped a certain spot, revealing a switch. A door in the wall opened. The others were surprised. They followed Dr. Wolfe down long, faintly lit steps into a hidden room. Pekin blurted out, "No way, you actually have a secret lab. Dude, you kept this from us all this time. It's the ultimate secret base. You little punk, you never believed me. Hey, you're the old man who kept a secret base like this hidden so well." Pekin's eyes shone with excitement. Scientist. Gray, lying on Beepo's back, suddenly perked up, craning his neck to look around the lab. "Let me tell you, I'm a genius inventor. I've been working on aircraft technology. Once I finish my invention, traveling to other islands will be a breeze. Everyone can just hop on an aircraft instead of drifting across the sea." "I see, that's a great idea. I'm Gray, and I'm a scientist. My dream is to build a warship more powerful than the legendary Pluto. But what kind of power source are we talking about for your aircraft? How do we keep it in the air? What about strong storms? How do we ensure a safe landing?" Following Dr. Wolfe's idea, Gray launched into a series of questions, his mind racing. "Whoa! Awesome ship. I can't believe there's a ship hidden down here. Is it for us?" Exclamations interrupted Gray's stream of questions. Following Wolfe, they reached the bottom of the lab and saw a beautiful ship docked on an underground river, but "It's not quite finished," someone noted. It was only half built. The basic structure was there, but the masts and deck still needed to be designed. "Yeah, I was going to give you my submarine, but you didn't seem too thrilled about that." Rhodes avoided Wolfe's reproachful stare. While the yellow submarine that traveled with Luo in the original story was cool, he preferred a more traditional sailboat with a huge deck for sunbathing. "This is where you guys come in. I figured you'd want to finish your own ship yourselves. I'm on it." Gray jumped off Beepo's back and gazed excitedly at the unfinished hull. He finally had a chance to realize his vision. "Just so you know, there aren't materials here to build a super battleship." Yeah, I know," Gray replied distractedly, already stroking the hull and lost in thought. "Just a heads up, don't add too many cannons. We don't have enough crew to man them all," Rhodes called out. From his dream of building a warship even better than Pluto, Rhodes knew that he was a fan of heavy firepower. After getting an affirmative answer, he turned to Dr. Wolfe. "Looks like our shipwright wants to do it all himself. Isn't that kid still injured?" Wolfe asked, looking at the bandages on Gray. "Huh, didn't you fall out of the sky and immediately start improving your invention?" "Humph." Annoyed that Rhodes had brought up an embarrassing story, Wolfe waved them away. "All right, let's go buy some supplies. We need to get ready to set sail." For the next few days, Gray was obsessed with building the pirate ship, debating various designs with Dr. Wolfe. Beepo and Luo helped them with the heavy lifting. They'd been helping Dr. Wolfe with mechanical work since they were kids and had some experience. Plus, since they were about to part ways, Luo wanted to spend more time with the old man who'd always taken care of him. As for Pekin and Sachis, they took Rhodes and his friends to nearby Happy Town to shop for supplies. Unlike Rhodes and his friends who'd arrived here recently, these two had grown up here and knew every store. Time flew by, and 2 weeks passed quickly. With Gray's dedication, their pirate ship was improved day by day and was finally completed one morning. Chapter 14. Let's Go, Polar. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Facing the sunrise, everyone gazed at the pirate ship, their hearts bursting with excitement. "Awesome! It's our pirate ship." That it was a dark red, two-masted sailing ship, about 50 meters long, a decent-sized pirate vessel. They'd been hauling stuff aboard for the past 2 days, and this morning, they finally moved her from the cave to the coast. Of course. This is the dream battleship I painstakingly built. I've souped it up from the original design, boosted the power, so it can sail full speed even without wind. There are 3 cannons on the bow, and the main gun can adjust its angle to cover the entire 180-degree field of fire in front. We've got another main gun covering 180 degrees in the stern too. Actually, I was thinking we could add even more guns along the sides, so we could shoot at anything, even if we were surrounded by enemy ships. I already told you, we don't have nearly enough crew for that many guns. What we have is plenty. Rod cut Gray off with a wave. Who knew how much more that guy would ramble on? Let's get on board. Hoo-hoo. We're heading out to sea. Pekan and Sachis cheered. Scrambling toward the ship, Nia took a running leap and landed right on top of the mast. This is way better than my little dinghy. Room. In a flash of blue light, Law, along with Rod and the others, materialized on the deck. He dropped a small stone, activated his power again, and teleported Pekan, who'd been left ashore, back onto the boat. Well, have a safe trip, guys. Take good care of my dream battleship. Gray looked at Rod seriously. Oh yeah, you haven't named her yet. Let's call her the Polar. The Polar will be our home on the sea. Polar, perfect name. Okay, have a great voyage. You guys have been rambling on forever. You haven't overworked yourselves lately, have you? Maybe scrambled your brains. Pekan reached out and tapped Gray's head. Come to think of it, his head injury never fully healed. Guess we can't push him too hard. Oh no, oh no. The black-eyed scientist's brain is fried. Law, you gotta check him out, Beepo shouted from the deck. Huh, Gray seemed to snap out of it then. He looked around and exclaimed, hey. How did I get on the ship? You're just figuring that out now. You're hopeless. Nia jumped down from the mast, ignoring the shouting idiot, and turned to Rhodes. Captain. Where's our pirate flag? Pirates gotta fly the colors, right? We just set sail from a sleepy little town. Raising our flag here isn't the grand entrance I'm looking for. Rod gazed into the distance. We gotta make a splash, then raise our pirate flag in the spotlight. That's the kind of debut we deserve. Alright, raise the sails and let's get moving. Aye. Pekan and Sachis quickly raised the sails, and Beepo strained to pull up the anchor. As the ship slowly started moving, several of them walked to the railing and looked at Dr. Wolfe standing on the beach. Goodbye, Wolfe. Thanks for everything over the years. You'll see us in the news soon. Remember to collect our bounties. You'll always be our friend. Watching them wave goodbye, Wolfe's eyes welled up. These guys he'd lived with for over a decade were finally setting out on their own adventure. Live well. In the end, Wolfe just waved softly to them. Parting always gets to me. The emotions are surging up, almost making me cry. Gray wiped his eyes dramatically. The ship sailed far out to sea, and Fian Island disappeared from sight. Everyone snapped out of their sentimental mood. Pekan and Sachis were already sitting on the side of the boat, fishing. Wait a minute. How did I end up leaving with you guys? Gray suddenly realized, belatedly. Definitely scrambled his brains. Law, go take a look. My brain's not scrambled, you dumb white bear. Sorry. What are you talking about? Aren't you one of us? Huh? Me? Gray pointed at himself, bewildered. Compared to the others, he was just a weakling who couldn't even wrestle a chicken. Could he really go to sea with them and become a pirate? Of course. You've been with us forever. And the Polar needs your personal care. We'd all feel better knowing you're looking after her. After all, she's not just your dream battleship, she's our home. Alright, I might not be fully prepared to be a pirate, but in that case, I'll take responsibility for the Polar's safety, Captain. That's the spirit. Exactly. This way, I can discover the Polar's weaknesses during the voyage. A lot of my earlier ideas were just theoretical. During the Polar's construction, I also realized I made some mistakes in my idealized design. If I can personally control the Polar and sail the sea, I can find the flaws in the whole design. As long as I keep improving, I'll eventually build a dream battleship that surpasses even the Pluto. The more Gray thought about it, the more excited he became, as if he'd already completed his dream battleship. Hold on. Suddenly, something dawned on him, and Gray froze. I didn't bring anything. All the important data I recorded while building the polar, all my sudden inspirations, they're all in my notebooks. Relax, you were dead tired last night. We moved all your stuff to your room while you were sleeping. Pekin walked in front of Gray's face carrying a large fish that had just been caught, and almost hit Gray's face with the fish's head. What? You asked me how big this fish is? It's not bad. It's only a little over 3 feet long. No big deal. Sachis was on the other side of Gray, also holding a fish in his hand and gesturing with his fingers. Oh, it's only a little bigger than Pekin's. Bear wants grilled fish. Grilled fish, grilled fish. Yoshi. To celebrate our voyage and the 10-foot fish I caught, let's have a party. Nott Rod held up a big fish with both hands, grinning. Idiot, you just knocked that fish unconscious. Law, who'd witnessed the whole thing, muttered coldly. Ha ha ha, don't sweat the details. Chapter 15, Pointing the Sword at Speda Myers. You are listening at novelfull.audio. We meet a chef. You trying to tell me something? Jean, moonlighting as the ship's cook, looked less than thrilled. Wouldn't you rather have a decent meal every day? Good point. We need to find ourselves a cook, Captain. Jean changed his tune immediately. Of course, I'm looking for one. Rhodes wiped his mouth. Jin's cooking was mediocre at best, but Rhodes wasn't about to cook himself, so he was settling for now. Truth was, they needed a real chef for a long-term sea voyage. A great chef could not only satisfy their hunger but also subtly improve their health through diet. Like Sanji in that manga, learning all those manly recipes from those, interesting chefs like that were hard to come by, though. Before all that, let's make some noise and get our name out there. That everyone looked at Rhodes, their eyes gleaming with anticipation. Anyone who chose this life wasn't exactly ordinary. Our first target is Speda Myers. It's a Don Quixote family stronghold. We'll use a warlord of the sea as our stepping stone. A warlord? Gray blurted out. You're acting like you weren't paying attention. We talked about this. When? Right, you were knocked out cold. So, you didn't talk to me. Whatever, it's not important. It is important. Jerk. Everyone, get ready. Is it too late to jump ship? I'm just a scientist who wants to build ships. Why am I going up against the Don Quixote family? Being from the North Blue, Gray knew exactly who Doflamingo was. The North Blue still told stories about Doflamingo's rise to power. At our current speed, Speda Myers is only 2 days away. No one paid attention to Gray's panic. Nero unfurled a map, pointing to a cross marked on it. According to our intel, Speda Myers was the Don Quixote family's original base in the North Blue. They abandoned it for a while, but after Doflamingo became a warlord, he sent them back from the New World with more muscle. They retook control of the town where they made their start. Not only that, but the Don Quixote family controls a lot of businesses there, from auctions to weapon shops to casinos, all under the warlord's protection, which boosts other industries in the town. It's now a big trading hub. In fact, the town is also the biggest black market in the entire North Blue. Beneath the shiny surface, all sorts of shady deals go down. Because of the warlord status, the Navy won't move against them without solid evidence. The Navy probably has its own backroom deals with the Don Quixote family. From what I've gathered, most countries in the North Blue, including many member states of the world government, have their own secret deals. Typical warlord of the sea. Their influence is everywhere, a huge web of connections and money. Just hearing about it makes you feel the pressure. Nia shuddered. This one base in the North Blue felt like a bottomless pit of corruption. Compared to the Don Quixote family, the Felker family was a joke. Sounds powerful, but with the captain here, we'll be fine. We're gonna get a bounty, too. I wonder how much. Jean and Sachis were still confident, already dreaming about their rewards. I messed up. I should never have contacted the Felker family in the first place. Hearing all this, Gray felt worse than ever. He only knew Doflamingo by name. Hearing Neru's description, it felt like a bad impulse to board Rhodes' ship. According to the intel, the top dog there is Gladius, the guy with the explode fruit. He's been with Doflamingo since day one. Luo, you should know a lot about this guy. Luo looked at Rhodes and Neru. They'd gathered so much intel on the Don Quixote family. They must have been planning this for a while. He'd kept his past hidden, planning to face it alone. Thinking about it now, he realized he wasn't strong enough and lacked the guts to directly challenge Doflamingo. Yeah, he's not someone to underestimate. He can detonate his own body or anything he touches. The explosions are way stronger than regular bombs. He had a bounty of 31 million berries years ago. He's dangerous. Pushing aside his own thoughts and remembering his childhood, Luo spoke seriously. Even after all this time, he still remembered learning how to shoot from Gladius. He was loyal to Doflamingo, putting the family's honor above all else, and had a short temper, just like his fruit ability. That guy would be shocked to see him. No, he'd probably be furious. Corazone's smiling face appeared in Luo's mind. I will fulfill your wish, Corazon. When someone becomes a warlord, they stop increasing their bounty, so that guy is way stronger than 31 million berries now. Neru looked at his crewmates and added. Also, there's another guy to watch out for on Speda Miles, Idorad Menudo, who ate a dog fruit. He's a reserve executive in the North Blue and beat a pirate with a 43 million berry bounty before. Alright, everyone knows the situation. We're going to crush our debut battle. Rhodes clapped his hands, drawing everyone's attention. The Don Quixote family has been running things for so long, they must be sitting on a fortune. Nia's eyes gleamed. They control the North Blue's weapons trade, so they must have some special technology. Gray stopped muttering. We're taking down a warlord of the sea in our first fight. We'll all get huge bounties. Pei Jin and Xia Qi jumped up, high-fiving each other excitedly. Maybe they have a cute mother bear there. Beepo blushed and laughed at something only he knew. That was a stretch. Watching Beepo get lost in his fantasy, Luo facepalmed. As everyone anticipated, Speda Miles arrived in 2 days. Chapter 16, Sachis' Efforts. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Speda Miles was a thriving town, with ships of all kinds crowding the port. The docks bustled with sailors and merchants. Hard to believe this place is so prosperous thanks to pirates, Nia sighed. Stepping into town, she'd seen countless port towns over the years, but few could compare to Speda Miles. Even the biggest countries had only a handful of ports that could rival it. We're not pirate ships, so we can dock here without a problem. Nobody messes with the Don Quixote family's territory, Neru said, instructing Pekin and Xiachi on where to park the boat. After paying the dock manager, he followed Rhodes and the others, a sly grin on his face. He found it amusing that while they were here to cause trouble for the Don Quixote family, their presence had saved the ship watchers some hassle. And as for the docking fee, he intended to recoup it from the Don Quixotes themselves. Truth is, even if you were a pirate ship, no one would care as long as you didn't fly your flag too proudly. The Don Quixote family is everywhere in this town, Rhodes remarked. The Don Quixote family logo was plastered on the dock management office. Once they were further into town, Rhodes and his crew saw the emblem on practically every other store, controlling nearly every aspect of life. So, what's the plan? One of the crew asked, looking to Rhodes for direction. What do you think? We're going to war, plain and simple. Rhodes' gaze settled on a large manor in the center of town. Given how valuable real estate was becoming, only the Don Quixote family could afford such a massive estate in the heart of Speda Miles. And to top it off, the Don Quixote flag was proudly displayed atop the main building. Time to say hello, Neru. Got it. Under the shocked gazes of onlookers, Neru raised his black pistol, aiming at the fluttering Don Quixote flag. Bang! The gunshot echoed as the bullet flew true, snapping the flagpole in two. The Don Quixote flag crumpled to the ground. 15 minutes earlier, inside a side building within the central manor, a gaunt, towering man, easily over 6 feet tall, was hunched over a table, chuckling, ha. Lord Everard Menudo, a guy claiming to be Doflamingo's biggest fan is here to see you, says he has vital information, a subordinate said, cautiously entering with his head bowed. Tons of folks want to work for that guy. If I had to meet every Tom, Dick, and Harry, how could I possibly do my job? Menudo looked up, revealing an elongated, dog-like face. He licked at the ice cream smudged on his face. Oh, I'm a dog. Right, I'll send him on his way, the subordinate replied, not daring to argue. He nodded and turned to leave. You just called me a dog, didn't you? A huge shadow fell over the subordinate. A sudden chill ran down his spine. No, sir. I didn't. The subordinate stammered, shaking his head and still refusing to look up. Lick my bowl clean. Menudo tossed the bowl in front of the subordinate, glaring at him. He then gestured to another subordinate. Bring that guy in here. If his information isn't worth a damn, he'll be licking my plate for a month. Yes, sir. The subordinate yelled, relieved to have dodged a bullet. Lord Menudo might have a dog face and call himself a dog, but he never let anyone else get away with it. Mentioning dogs in his presence was a surefire way to end up scrubbing his dog bowl with your tongue. Lord Menudo, I'm Sachis. I have a report about some arrogant guys trying to muscle in on the Don Quixote family's business. Sachis was ecstatic to finally be speaking with a member of the Don Quixote family. After their humiliating defeat at the hands of Rhodes over 2 weeks prior, Sachis was consumed with vengeance. He'd ignored everyone's advice and rushed to Speda miles to seek help from the Don Quixote family and rescue Bellamy. After pulling some strings and greasing palms, he'd finally connected with someone at the bottom of the Don Quixote food chain. For 500,000 berries, the guy had agreed to introduce him to Lord Menudo. He spotted his friend lying on the ground nearby, licking a bowl, and a flicker of confusion crossed his face. He'd asked that guy to put in a good word for him. Why was he? Never mind. Without dwelling on it, Sachis launched into his report, explaining how they'd heard that the Felker family was trying to get into the arms dealing and how they'd attempted to stop them, culminating in their defeat at the hands of Rhodes and the capture of Bellamy. He even produced several portraits, drawn by one of his crew members who was handy with a pencil. So, you want me to risk my neck to save your captain, this Bellamy guy, right? Menudo summed up, examining the portraits. I'm here to report these lunatics who are trying to undermine the Don Quixote family's business interests, sir. We're just too weak to deal with them ourselves, so we need someone as powerful as you to protect the Don Quixote family. Of course, rescuing our captain would be great too. We'll defend the Don Quixote family's interests to the death. Hiding behind the family's name, seeking the family's protection, but using the family's power for their own selfish ends. I've seen guys like you a million times. And guess what happened to them? Menudo materialized right in front of Sachis, towering over him, his presence suffocating. You really think I can't spot someone like you a mile away? Why do you think I was chosen to be the family's representative in the North Blue? Chapter 17 Cats and Dogs. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Sachis was on his knees, soaked in sweat. He felt totally exposed. He had been planning to use the Don Quixote family's influence to rescue Bellamy. Sure, there was some friendship involved, but mostly it was about self-interest. He knew his own limitations. Sachis was just a regular guy with a bit of strength. Even if he somehow managed to join the Don Quixote family, he'd be stuck at the bottom. Bellamy was different. He'd shown real talent since childhood, and he was a devil fruit user. If he got into the Don Quixote family, he'd be climbing the ranks in no time. Then Sachis, his childhood friend, could cash in on their history and get a leg up, but Menudo's voice cut through his thoughts, making Sachis tremble. This asterisk was the Don Quixote family's presence. And this guy was just a reserve. Sachis's gaze was fixed on Menudo's shadow. It was huge, and he could see Menudo's finger extending, growing longer. Die. Menudo's voice was like ice, and Sachis caught a glint of something sharp. Bang. The door crashed open, and a bunch of panicked underlings burst into the room. What's going on? Menudo snapped, his eyes like daggers. Ignoring Menudo's glare, the underlings pointed outside, their faces pale. Something even worse had happened out there. The family flag, it's gone. Bang. The ground beneath Menudo cracked as he instantly bolted outside, ignoring Sachis on the floor. He raced to the center of the courtyard, where the family flag used to be. All that remained was a broken flagpole and the flag lying in the dirt. Who did this? He grabbed the nearest underling, already half transformed into his beast form. His fangs nearly tore the guy's face. I don't know. A bullet just came out of nowhere. Menudo didn't hold back. The underling felt his shoulder about to be crushed. You don't know. Menudo's eyes blazed. He squeezed the guy's arm tighter, his claws digging in. Get off me, you mutt. Menudo shoved him away, took a deep breath, and roared bang. A bullet appeared in front of Menudo in an instant. He blocked it with his claws and glared at the figures at the gate. Did you just call me a dog? Wow, a skinny dog, Nia drawled. The Don Quixote family's reserve was in his half-beast form, looking scrawny. I am a dog. I ate the mutt fruit, Dachshund model. You destroyed our flag. I'll tear you apart. He lunged forward, claws extended at Rhodes. Rhodes stepped back, and Menudo's claws ripped into the stone floor. Bang. A leg shot out from the side and slammed into Menudo's ribs. The force nearly doubled him over. He went flying. Damn, she's strong. Pekan and Xia Qi exchanged shocked glances. They hadn't expected Nia to be so powerful. They barely had time to react. If they'd been facing him, they might have been dead. She lived up to her reputation. Were they the weakest ones on the ship? They glanced at Gray, who was silently trailing them. I'll take care of this skinny dog, Nia said, a gleam in her eye. This guy could take a beating. Her kick hadn't even slowed him down. You okay? A dog type is no match for a cat type. Menudo spat as he got up, brushing off his side. You've got some power, but that attack was nothing. Try this. He shot forward, faster than before, claws slashing. You know nothing about cat speed, Nia scoffed, easily dodging his attacks. Even though she was trash-talking, Nia knew this enemy was tougher than anything she'd faced before. She'd already shifted into her own half-beast form. Black cat ears twitched on her head. Swish. She dodged another attack, appearing behind him and stabbing down with her claws. Thwack. Blood splattered as her claws pierced his body. Got him. Got you. The two voices rang out almost at the same time. Nia's eyes widened. Menudo grinned, flexing the muscles around her claws, trapping them. Before Nia could react, Menudo twisted, using his thin body to spin 180 degrees. He bared his fangs at her. While Nia was fighting Menudo, the other Don Quixote members attacked Rhodes and the others. Room. A blue sphere enveloped everyone. But before Law could use his power. Aha! A white figure soared into the air, followed by two more. They took down the attackers in a flash. Leave these guys to us. Pekan and Xia Qi grinned at Rhodes. Gray remained silently behind them, almost invisible. Chapter 18 Art is Explosion. Please read on. You are listening at novelfull.audio. That's Trafalgar Law. Up on the second-floor balcony of the main building, a guy was zeroing in on Rhodes and his crew as they walked in. He scanned the others, but his eyes kept snapping back to Law. Same damn hat. Like he felt someone staring. Law glanced up at the second floor. Dark blue windbreaker, that mask he always changes, and that vibe. You're looking pretty relaxed, Gladius. Seeing the old face, Law managed a tight smile. This was the guy who taught him everything, but also the same son of a bitch who helped kill Corazon. Rage at seeing more Don Quixote family members, the burning need to avenge Corazon, all those feelings churned up inside, and Law didn't know what kind of face to put on. You traitor. Instead of crawling into some hole to die, you waltz right in front of me and trash the family's flag. Veins were popping on Gladius' forehead, and his voice dripped with anger he was barely holding back. Don't worry, I ain't gonna kill you. Just break every bone in your body and drag you back to Doflamingo for him to deal with. Gladius leaped off the balcony, eyes burning with rage, but even though he was pissed, Gladius was a fighter. He knew what he was doing. Mid-air, Gladius cranked a dial on his arm, and a bunch of special projectiles shot out, appearing right in front of Law's face in a heartbeat. Exploding rounds, the black rounds puffed up fast, reaching max size in a split second, then boom. A huge explosion swallowed Rhodes and the others. Bang. 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 Gunshots cracked, and bullets ripped through the smoke, heading straight for Gladius's chest. Too weak. The thought flashed in his mind, bullets without hockey weren't gonna scratch him. This kid was just clueless, he just barely twisted, dodging a few bullets, then spun the dial on his arm again. Room. In a whisper, a blue bubble of energy engulfed the area. In a flash, Rhodes switched places with one of the bullets Gladius dodged, appearing behind him with a fist cocked back. He swung, boom. Another huge blast engulfed both of them, whoosh. The next second, Rhodes was back beside Law. This guy's got quick reflexes. Looking at the smoky area, Rhodes looked thoughtful, just a regular family officer, but with fighting skills like that? The experience gap was definitely real. Okay, I take it back. You guys got some juice after all. Gladius' voice came from the smoke. But it won't change a thing. You're still gonna die. As the smoke cleared, Gladius reappeared. His helmet was maxed out, stretched to its limit, with cracks running all over it. Exploding helmet. The blast was deafening, and with it came a storm of razor-sharp fragments flying at high speed. The helmet shards flew everywhere with insane force, punching through walls. The Don Quixote family goons hanging back were mowed down by the shrapnel. Rhodes snatched a sword and went to work, a blur of steel blocking every last piece of flying debris. This is like a souped-up grenade on steroids. Seeing the carnage around him, Rhodes felt a chill. The courtyard was a complete wreck. Hey, Rhodes, this ain't your show. Remember? I called dibs on this guy. Law muttered, a little annoyed. He was supposed to start this war against the Don Quixote family. Sorry, haven't had a decent fight in a while. Rhodes sheathed his sword and stepped aside, leaving Law to face Gladius head-on. You punks think you can disrespect Lord Gladius. With his helmet blown to bits, Gladius' spiky hair stood out even more, showing off how tough he was. None of you are getting away. Gladius' voice was pure fury. Mine bomb. Gladius growled, and the ground under Rhodes' feet suddenly bulged, swelling up fast. Room. A blue light flashed, and Rhodes and his crew teleported away, leaving a few unlucky Don Quixote family goons to eat the explosion. Scuttling around like rats. Gladius watched his own guys get blown to pieces without blinking, then fixed his gaze on where Rhodes and the others reappeared. It's pointless. This is my turf. Pushing up his goggles, Gladius spoke calmly. He had marked every inch of this courtyard with his powers. Anywhere in the yard could turn into a bomb, no matter where they ran. Hey! He jumped the gun. Don't say I'm horning in on your action, Law. Rhodes yelled from the smoke. With a burst of air, the smoke cleared, showing Rhodes and the others. They were mostly okay, just a little roughed up. After all that hell they'd been through, a bomb like this wasn't even a scratch. Rhodes grabbed a sword from somewhere and swung it around, getting a feel for the weapon. A grin flashed across his face. This was what he was looking for. I'll be the one to take care of this. Law stepped forward, locking eyes with Gladius. After that little test, he had a good handle on things. This guy was strong, way stronger than anyone from the North Blue should be, but he could win this. Based on what he'd seen, the guy depended on explosions and the shrapnel those explosions made. He just needed to keep his distance and time his attack right. Room. A pale blue halo washed over the battlefield. Chapter 19, The Brave Wins When Two Meet on a Narrow Road. New book, please read it. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Seriously, as a captain, I can't even find a decent fight. Rhodes casually surveyed the battlefield. Luo rarely felt so fired up, and his target was his own personal demons, the Don Quixote family. Rhodes felt awkward even thinking about stealing his thunder, plus, after those few warm-up fights, Rhodes knew he could take Gladius down without breaking a sweat. Over there, Nia and that dachshund were going at it. Animal-type devil fruit users were tough to put down. The guy was no match for Nia, but he was somehow managing to hang in there. He'd go down eventually, though. As for the rest of the Don Quixote goons, Pekin, Xia Qi, and Beppo had pretty much cleaned them up. Gladius helped out too, though. A few of his explosions took out plenty of his own guys. "Hey, Gray, what are you doing lying on the ground?" Rhodes asked, confused. "You're not even hurt." "Heh." A sarcastic grin spread across Gray's face. "I'm playing possum so nobody notices me." How refreshingly honest. "What else can I do? I'm just a helpless scientist." Gray suddenly jumped up, waving his arms at the two ongoing battles. "I messed up. I never should have gone to Mignon Island. If I hadn't gone to Mignon Island, I wouldn't be on your ship. If I wasn't on this ship, I wouldn't. Since I'm not needed here, I'm gonna go look for the Don Quixote's treasure vault." Nehru, after checking on Luo, sheathed her weapon and nodded to Gray. "Let's go together. Intelligence suggests the Don Quixote family is the biggest arms dealer in the North Sea. They probably have some interesting toys." "Sweet." Gray, who had been spacing out, snapped to attention and eagerly followed Nehru toward the back of the manor. "Damn you guys, you're not taking me seriously at all." Even in the heat of battle, Gladius noticed Nehru's little departure. Seeing them completely ignore him and head for the manor, veins bulged on his forehead. He was seeing red. Full body explosion. Gladius instantly swelled like a balloon. This was it. His entire body would keep expanding, and the resulting blast would be bigger than anything before, and even better, millions of exploding hairs would shoot out in every direction, instantly piercing anything they hit. Plus, each hair was laced with a paralyzing toxin. This would finish them. The thought flashed through his mind, and the next moment, he was ready to explode. Room, tact. Sensing the danger, Luo activated his ability. He teleported Gladius to the farthest point of his range and then swung his Kikoku, slicing off the entire main building and sending it hurtling toward Gladius as a shield. "Unstoppable!" Gladius roared, and then his body reached its limit. With a deafening boom, a terrifying explosion ripped through the town. The shockwave leveled over 90% of the buildings, and the poisonous strands shot out in all directions. People collapsed everywhere, wailing but unable to even stand. "That was a close one. I almost got hit. Were those things hair?" Nia patted her chest, relieved. That blast was intense up close. Those flying strands were dangerous, she just knew it. "Good thing you were here, you mutt." Nia patted Menudo's head, pleased. As the explosion went off, she grabbed Menudo and held him up as a shield. Luckily, the scrawny dog had blocked all the hairs. Seeing the hairs stuck in his fur and the tiny wounds they left, Nia was happy and a little sorry at the same time, but the fight wasn't over yet. "Sorry, I missed some." Rhodes smirked, looking at Gray, who lay stiff on the ground. He wasn't much of a swordsman and couldn't block all the hairs. Gray's mouth twitched. He was hiding in the back, so why were those standing in front of him fine, while he was the one who got hit? "What do you want to say?" Rhodes leaned closer. "I messed up, I was wrong from the begin." "Okay, shut up." Ignoring Gray's glare, Rhodes clamped his mouth shut. The paralyzing toxin made it impossible to control his facial muscles or even speak for the time being. "Don't worry, it's not lethal," Nehru said after a quick assessment. "It'll just paralyze him for a while. Unless he can't get help, then it's a different story. Can you handle it, Luo? If not, we'll find someone else." Rhodes called out to Luo. "Are you kidding? I can finish this in a minute." Luo's eyes flashed with annoyance. He'd have to go all out, or he'd never hear the end of it, but Gladius' move was troublesome. Luckily, Beppo and the others were okay. Luo glanced at Beppo and the others, a hint of caution in his eyes. Gladius, recovered, was charging toward him, if he kept spamming that move, it would be bad. The shockwave from the explosion was too much for Beepo and the others to handle. If they got hit at close range, they'd be seriously injured, not to mention Gray, who was basically a normal guy, then. Room. The blue sphere enveloped the area again. Gladius felt the ability field close in. A fierce glint appeared in his eyes. He never thought Trafalgar Law, who betrayed his family, would grow so strong. Law's ability was especially annoying, but even if Law could teleport around all he wanted, as long as he stalled, things would swing in his favor. From Law's movements, it was clear his fruit ability drained him, and besides his dodging, Law had no real attack power. When Law tried to attack up close, that's when the fight would be over. A red light flickered in Gladius' eyes. Now. A piece of rubble vanished in front of Gladius, and Luo appeared right in front of him. With all that power, he was actually attacking head-on. Naive. Gladius' eyes blazed. His arms swelled instantly. Black feather arm cannon, that he expanded his arms to the limit and, at the moment of explosion, launched the solid armor fragments wrapped on them. No one had ever walked away from this unscathed. Gamma knife. Dropping his sword, Kikoku, Luo reached out, ignoring Gladius' swung arms. He pressed his thumbs against Gladius' chest right before his arms exploded. A surge of electricity erupted. Gladius' eyes rolled back, and he instantly lost consciousness. His swollen arms deflated. Thump. Gladius collapsed. Just like Luo said, it was over in a minute. Chapter 20 The Righteous Navy Passing By. New book, please read. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Just as Rode and his crew were causing a ruckus at Speda, a warship was sailing nearby. On deck, besides the Marines going about their duties, several naval officers in Justice cloaks were enjoying afternoon tea at a central table. What's the plan after we report back to headquarters? A burly Marine asked, setting down his cup and turning to a Marine next to him. She was a striking woman with short, light pink hair, a cigarette dangling from her lips, and an icy demeanor. Dark purple gloves covered her hands resting on the table. Though he addressed you to the group, his eyes remained glued to the woman beside him, radiating admiration. I'm staying in the Grand Line. The woman didn't speak. A Marine across from her did. She only frowned slightly and took a drag from her cigarette. He was a composed young man with an X-shaped scar on his chin. Despite the relaxed atmosphere of afternoon tea, the officers sat rigidly, their expressions serious. All right, got it, Colonel Drake. What about you, Lieutenant Commander Hina? Guessing you're staying in the Grand Line too. Decided which base yet? I can put in a good word if you want. The burly Marine spoke casually, still fixed on Hina, subtly revealing information. Vice Admiral Jonathan at G8 Fortress has been a close friend of my father's for years, after all. Extinguishing her cigarette in the ashtray, the officer named Hina sighed. How irritating. Lieutenant Commander Hina stood, pushing her sunglasses up onto her head, tugged at her gloves, and left her colleagues at the table. She walked to the ship's railing, staring out at the sea. I should have taken my own warship to headquarters. She thought, in recent years, the North Sea had become calmer. Doflamingo and his Don Quixote family had moved to the New World, becoming one of the 7 warlords of the sea. The Vinsmoke family, leading Germa, had reached a deal with the world government and were reinstated. After several years in the North Sea, Hina had earned a transfer order to Marine headquarters in Marineford. She was traveling with others from different bases to report. Unfortunately, Colonel Monty Barrow had been bothering her since boarding. She'd heard about him, a case of rank-exceeding ability, protected by Vice Admiral Monty Giles. Hina had been holding back, not wanting to cause a scene, but suppressing her disgust was proving difficult. Bored from being at sea too long? I'll grab you a glass of wine. We'll be there soon, anyway. Oblivious, Colonel Barrow cheerfully went to fetch some fruit wine for Lieutenant Commander Hina. I don't want any. Take it away. If Hina wasn't concerned about him causing trouble during the upcoming report, she would have dumped the wine on his head, but she wasn't like Smoker. Years of training had taught her the destructive potential of a spoiled brat. Boom. A violent explosion echoed in the distance, interrupting Hina's annoyance with Colonel Barrow. That direction. The explosion caught everyone's attention. Colonel Drake approached, glanced at the barely visible island in the distance, and paused. That's Speda town. A blast that loud from that far, what the heck is going on? As a North Sea native who'd sailed with his father, he knew most of the region's important towns. Should we check it out? Something that makes that much noise can't be small time, but I haven't heard about any major pirate groups around here. Of course we should. We're the Navy, protectors of justice. How can we ignore evil happening right in front of us? Colonel Barrow declared emphatically, while sneaking glances at Lieutenant Commander Hina. Major General Bastu, what do you think? Drake asked, turning to the last officer, a tall man wearing a horn mask and carrying a large, long-handled saw. This was Major General Bastu from Navy headquarters. He'd been in the North Sea for a few months, handling a matter in the Kingdom of Dawson. Afterward, he'd relayed the headquarters' orders to them and was escorting them to Marineford for their reports. Ultimately, only he could decide the ship's course. Territory of the Seven Warlords. Bastu muttered, as a rear admiral, he knew about the warlords. Speda town was where Doflamingo had made his name, the Don Quixote family's base in the North Sea. He hated getting involved with the warlords, especially the troublesome Doflamingo, but as Colonel Barrow said, he couldn't ignore what was happening before him. Not with that justice cloak on his back. Change course to Speda. All soldiers, prepare for action. Major Corlaw, organize an evacuation team. Captain Barstow, lead 2 squads to receive and treat the wounded on the island. Everyone else, with me. Prepare for battle. Major General Bastu stared at the island. His eyesight wasn't great, so he couldn't make out the situation, but he had a feeling a lot of trouble awaited them on that island, on the island. Guess those sea stone handcuffs aren't so easy to find, Rhodes sighed after searching the Don Quixote family's warehouse. You only stumble across treasures like that in the Grand Line. Nelu smiled, handing Rhodes the last box of supplies. You could help. You've been wandering around, just looking for a chance to slack off. How dare you accuse me without reason? Rhodes took the box, and they walked towards the port, with Gladius and Doflamingo's other henchmen taken care of. The remaining Don Quixote family members had scattered, leaving Rhodes and the others to enjoy the spoils, or rather, plunder the Don Quixote family. They hadn't found the weapons Gray wanted, but the other treasures in the mansion had stunned them. Nia, especially, had been running back and forth between the Polar Tang and the mansion, single-handedly doing half the hauling, but with the valuables secured, Nia refused to leave the ship. One moment she was caring for the injured Gray, the next she was guarding the Polar Tang from thieves. In short, she wasn't letting those treasures out of her sight, so Rhodes and Nelu were left with the task of hauling the food supplies.